Hello and welcome to the second look from the Anfield wrap after Liverpool have gone to Porto and scored 4 goals to make it to a Champions League semi-final again. They'll play Barcelona over 2 legs. They're also top of the Premier League with only 4 to play. It's an absolutely mad time to be a Liverpool supporter. I am Dan Austin. With me talking about the match last night are Neil Atkinson and Mo Stewart. And Mo, what strikes me first of all is how mental it is that this footy team keeps making really difficult things like going away in Europe in second legs in the latter stages and winning matches late on in the league and making them look really, really easy.
It's bizarre, isn't it? It feels like it's not almost real, but then when you look at the game and you look at how we play in the game, it is real, and they're doing it again and again and again. And every time we do it, it should feel more comfortable. And I think it is feeling more comfortable. It definitely is for the players.
Neil, you were brilliant away in Munich in the second leg. Brilliant last night, by the first 25 minutes or so, I'd say. But this is now Liverpool's third proper European campaign under Jurgen Klopp. Every single time they've reached at least this stage, the previous 2 times they've reached the final, Liverpool are genuinely back at the point now where they are one of, if not the most feared sides in Europe.
I think it's really interesting that if this was because of the way in which we viewed certain managers, and obviously with Benitez it's crystallised by Istanbul, but this is Benitez-esque. And what doesn't get talked about is the tactical nous, because it's not, you know, a lot of the tactical nous is the tactical nous that's been worked on for weeks and months. It's not pulling a rabbit out of the hat. The Benitez tactical nous, a lot of it was solving a problem, pulling a rabbit out the hat when your players weren't as good as theirs. And so it's clearer when you go to Juventus and play 2 left-backs, for instance, that you're being clever. The fact of the matter is that Klopp is as clever. Yes, he has got better players at his disposal by now, but what he's done is he's built the good work. And he's built what you're going to need to do at certain times in games, and he's got them switched on tactically in a way which is quite subtle. And you mentioned the first 25 minutes there. Klopp has been very public all the way through this run that we're going to have to suffer. The way he's phrased it, we're going to have to suffer. We're going to suffer in games, and we suffered. We didn't bleed, we didn't break, but we suffered. And it was the players on the pitch in conjunction with what was going on the sidelines. They got us through. They got themselves through. They got each other through, and then they managed to build into the half and got better and better as it wore on.
Mo, it was a poor start last night, and I think we have to remember in the context of what Neil's just been saying there, the Porto are a really good football team. They're not at this stage of the European Cup by accident. They've beaten a side in Roma. They got to the semi-final last year and ran us very close in the end in the second leg. They had some difficult away trips in the group and got through them with no problem. They're a really good football team, and Liverpool have frankly twatted them twice in 2 years.
And not only that, they're a much better team at home as well. When you see the atmosphere they're able to generate, and the way it was so hostile, and they've got that massive pitch, and it can seem so intimidating to a lot of teams. That's definitely their tactic. And they'd won 4 out of 4 in the Champions League at home, so there was no way we were going into this game with anything other than our eyes wide open. I think Neil's right. I think part of our plan was to suffer in that way in the early game, because we were sitting a lot deeper than I'd necessarily say that we have done in previous games, and looking maybe for Origi as an out ball. It wasn't quite working. But we also knew that we had the quality now to suck up that, almost like a rope-a-dope. And then as soon as we got that first chance, we were able to make everything that happened up to that point completely meaningless.
Porto did start well, Neil, and the Reds weren't great. Porto actually have 11 shots before Liverpool have their first, which is quite mad. 5 of them for Moussa Marega again. He had 10 over the course of the 2 ties, but couldn't really hit the barn door at any stage. I don't think he was getting in good positions, but couldn't bury them. Do you think it was a sort of ploy from Liverpool to try and basically soak up the pressure and play on the break? It was just for the first 25 to pass and the out ball wasn't happening?
I think there was a bit of a ploy. I think that was an idea. I think that there's a little question around how the front 3 and the midfield 3 functioned. I think that at times, you know, that midfield 3, it is a tightrope. You are walking a tightrope, picking it and using it in that way. And that's not just the selection. What I mean is the approach. In European away games, you can be stretched by big switches. You can be, you know, you're trying to be compact in there, and you can suddenly find that. I think so there's almost a way to think about football formations at times, which is where's the fella trying to cheat? So where's the manager trying to cheat? Where's he trying to get more from than he actually has? And Liverpool sort of want to play 4-4-3. Because he's committed to the front 3 and he's playing a back 4. So what happens across the middle of the pitch? And the idea is that those midfielders do the work of 4 men between the 3 of them. Fabinho's got to be 1.5 centre midfielders. The wider 2 have got to be half wide midfielders, half the other central midfielder as well. And that's the idea. When it doesn't work, all of a sudden you feel as though you can't get the ball, you can't build, you can't get out. All of that's what happens, and that's where he's trying to cheat, and that's where he's trying to get a little bit extra. And if it doesn't work because the opposition are good, then that happens. I think the positions of the shots is interesting because I think if you're taking the totality of the position of the shot, the number of times he's off balance, a couple of them are headers, they're always at a slight angle, they're always 15 yards or more out if they're not headers. He's always got company around him. There's one, for instance, that, you know, when you just chart it on a shot map, it looks like, oh, he's in a decent position there, or the Porto player's in a decent position there, and it's just hit directly at Joel Matip, who's stood closer than I am to you right now. So you can say, oh, well, you know, on the map it looks like it's a decent area, but in reality, it's just blamming it into Joel Matip's legs. And that, so I think I was, you know, watching it back as well and watching those chances back. I'm quite comfortable, really, with only one or two exceptions. I'm really comfortable and just sort of saying, well, if you beat that fella from here, all the best to you, because he's brilliant.
I mean, the closest they actually got to the goal in the first half was that one shot in the first 25 seconds.
Yeah.
That was really good shot, and they just went over the bar.
And it beat Alisson all ends up.
It had beaten him, and that's probably the only time. I think even the situation where Herrera went clean through and Van Dijk basically just swooped on past him and nicked it off his toe, I think he would have been given offside for that one as well. Yeah, so there were lots of times where they were close, but they never got beyond arm's length. And I think that was what allowed us the time to say, okay, this isn't working, but we have still got enough time to fix it. And as far as Moreira's concerned, I felt like a little bit every time that he got an opportunity that didn't go for him, it got in his head a little bit more, he maybe snatched a little bit more, because all of the other things up to the point of shooting, he was doing quite well. It was causing problems.
The other thing on him, though, is that there's a fitness thing, which is that he's a big lad. He reminds me a little bit of a Kaka, who we used to terrorise us at times playing for Watford, where he's 15 minutes where you feel as though he's dominating the game and he's winning his battles. Then there's 15 minutes where it's all a bit could go either way, and then the last 15 minutes of the first half, he's absolutely shattered. And it's because, you know, it's because of his frame. He's obviously a hugely talented footballer who, by the way, he's got a lovely touch. He's not just a bulldozer, he's got a lovely touch in there. But there is, you know, it's strange to me to think about it, but he's come through. But he just hasn't got 90 minutes in him. And Porto ended up in a position where they needed 90 minutes from him, given the way in which the game was going. They needed him to actually be at his best in the first half. In the end, in the last 15 minutes of the first half, well, that's not going to be him. He's just physically not quite able to do that. And I like him. I think he's a dead interesting player, as I say, because I like his touch and his movement's clever and he pulls off people and finds little angles, and in many ways he gave Van Dijk probably Van Dijk's roughest 20 minutes of the season. The flip side of that, though, is that, you know, second half we're completely, he's not in the game at all, and that's sometimes what happens with certain footballers.
The Reds eventually managed to sort of right themselves, Mo, just after the halfway point of the first half. And it was just a sort of basic break. It was the first time we'd really strung a few passes together. It wasn't, you know, anything out of the ordinary. It wasn't a brilliant piece of play. But it just goes to show that once Liverpool had a bit about themselves, once they were able to get the ball out of their own half and keep hold of it for a second, they were able to put it in. And I think in the end, no one really expects it to get given. None of our players do. Us watching it don't. And then we all watch the referee on telly say, it's a goal. And then had to wait another minute for him to actually give the signal. It was all very strange, wasn't it? But it's really helpful when you've got the fastest man alive to put the ball in the net.
I love the fact that Mo Salah was very happy to call it an assist when he was clearly shooting. He was clearly shooting in that situation. It's just he didn't have enough power. And Mane was like, well, I'm here, I might as well make sure. And you're right, he admitted it in the post-match interview. He thought he was offside. Most people thought he was offside. Except Mo Salah, who had the foresight to go and look over the referee's shoulder when he's watching the replay. And he came back and said, it's a goal, lads, it's great. But you're right, it was the first time that we got any kind of possession in their final third. And to get into the situation where we were dangerous enough to score a goal was actually quite easy in terms of once we get a little bit of short, sharp passing amongst us, we were in. And that's exactly what it took.
You can genuinely do a comparison with the way they were playing. When Wijnaldum gets in the box, and if that's a Porto player, he has a shot. Because that's what they were doing. Yeah. When Wijnaldum, in fact, they probably didn't get to the box, they probably shoot from further out. But when Wijnaldum finds Salah, and Salah has got time. Salah could find the bottom corner if he strikes it a little bit better. But then we've also got men in the box, and we've also got men who are running and gambling, which to an extent they didn't have, because they were full of footballers who knew we're just going to have shots here and we're just going to take efforts, and that means that there's a reason why you stop playing in the penalty area, and then it's there. I loved how long it took. The longer it took, the more I was like, it's going to get given this. This is going to get given, and because if this is just offside, then they just go, this is just offside. It was like, you know, it was this wonderful journey of starting off thinking, hey, they're just checking this, it's not going to be anything, and then going, there might be something in it, you know, and then suddenly, right, I'm now, you know, there was almost like a tipping point of expectation where I suddenly went, oh, it's actually more likely now to be given as a goal, like, there we go, there I am, and that, yeah, it was brilliant.
I thought in general, Neil Mane was brilliant last night, the best of the front three, but what struck me most about it was I was having a look at the statistics. I'd noticed that he was doing a lot of grafting. He does a lot anyway, but in particular last night, especially first half when we were under the cosh a little bit, I thought he's doing a lot more than what he usually does. He made 6 tackles last night, which is 3 more than anyone else on the pitch. For your sort of wide left forward who shouldn't really be doing any of that, who by and large isn't asked to do as much of that as what he was doing. And, you know, even forgetting his defensive contribution, but that's such a big part of what he was doing last night. I think he's had the best 2019 of any footballer I'm aware of that exists.
Possibly with the exception of Messi. Because that's always the thing you've got to say, with the exception of that fella. I think you're right, and I think he has. But I think also he had a fantastic 2018. And that's the thing, you know, I think that you can genuinely mark it from that goal he scores at Burnley in 2018. And if you look at all of his numbers and all of his stats from that point, they're remarkably impressive. And it is an all-round contribution. It is not just the idea that he kicks it in the goal. He's involved in a lot of early build-up of Liverpool moves, a lot of passes before the pass. Not so often the pass, which I think is quite interesting, but a lot of passes before the pass, and then a lot of graft as well, like you say. And it is a fantastic run he's on. And I think it's some footballers, I think, when the idea of winning the brilliant thing comes, some stay at the level that they're at. Most do that, actually, but most do what got them there. Some go into the shell a little bit. I think that's only human nature. Some people in the key moments, it's difficult. Sadio Mane, the more Liverpool look like they're going to win silverware, the better Sadio Mane gets. And it's that level of Steven Gerrard-like step up. And that's a comparison point. You know, it is a Steven Gerrard-like step up. When Steven could smell that there was silverware in something for Liverpool, 08-09 is a really good example. 13-14 is a really good example. You know, there was Steven Gerrard week in, week out. And then there was Steven Gerrard as seasons got towards their denouement. And that's where you saw the very, very best of him. And that's what we're seeing from Sadio Mane. But we've now been seeing it for 18 months.
Right, that's all we've got time for part one. What's going to happen in the immediate future after this is Neil Atkinson is going to transport himself to another desk and do a tactical look with his tactics board about how both teams set up. So we're going to cross to future Neil now, and then afterwards we'll be with past Neil and present Mo. I think that's right, to talk about Roberto Firmino, Jordan Henderson, and maybe a bit of Joe Gomez.
You can see here the map of the first sort of 25 minutes of Porto versus Liverpool. Noticeable that Militao's really wide and involved a great deal on that side. Tellez and Brahimi next to each other, almost holding hands on the average position map. Octavio cutting in there for Marega, obviously very involved, very high up the pitch. And what you can see from this is back to what at times this midfield three has to live through, has to suffer through, is that if the opponents look to make the pitch really, really big, you want to stay compact, but you've got to be able to effectively do a lot of this sort of thing where you go from side to side. Liverpool were trying to freshen that up. You see that Milner and Wijnaldum change sides at one point. Origi and Mane go on to swap over as the half wears on. But ultimately the manager changes it from the bench and he goes to basically move Salah into there, brings Firmino on, says to Milner, who's here, listen, you're going to do this job. Mane, for the sake of argument, comes over here and does this job. And suddenly Liverpool have a bit more of a traditional shape which they can work with and can occupy these areas. And what they're not doing is overstretching those midfielders and asking them to cover not just half spaces but full on huge bits of territory across the pitch, and do so in a manner which, rather than have this force sort of have to cover so much ground, it's shorter shuttles, and it shuts Porto down at half time. It's an interesting change from the manager. It's one that you can make an argument he didn't have to make in terms of taking Origi off, but he clearly didn't want to watch the side suffer and struggle through the first sort of 20 minutes of the second half. He wanted to help them out. We often talk about substitutions. We make the argument that they're for legs, and there'd be an argument that the Origi one is a sub about tactics rather than for legs. But if you're Klopp and you're worried at the minute and you want to keep them as fresh as possible, one of the things you don't want in that second 45 minutes is the idea they have 20 minutes of having to work so hard. So it is a sub, obviously, around the tactics, but I do actually think legs were part of what he was thinking. It's interesting he takes both full-backs off. Both full-backs have to work really hard in that early 25-minute period, and they have to work really hard out of possession. They don't get to rest on the ball at any stage. None of that happens. Liverpool in general don't get to rest on the ball. They're absolutely harassed, so both full-backs don't finish the game. Quite clearly substitutions for legs, and Gomez coming on as well, a substitution to get him involved too. Liverpool win the game. They win the game 4-1 in the end. What Porto were doing, they couldn't keep up. They're unfortunate with the first goal with it being not offside, but it was not offside. They find themselves in a situation where they've lost to Liverpool by 5 goals in aggregate in consecutive seasons. But being really honest with you, I think they played far better this season in both legs. They kept the tie alive at Anfield, just about, and it did feel alive for those first 25 minutes. Just a little marker longer. We may well do a little bit of a stat show at some point, pulling back onto that game. And the reason why will be to explain that, yes, Porto were having shots and having chances, but the expected goals of each of those chances is really rather low. And then you can say, well, if it accumulates in the race chart thing that we do sometimes put up, well, if it accumulates to be worth a goal, well, the thing is, though, if you're worth 1.02 and you have a shot that's worth 0.03, and then you don't get to go, well, we deserve one to go in. That's not how it works. It resets itself every single time. Porto were having speculative efforts. They couldn't turn Liverpool around ultimately. They could not get themselves back into the game. Liverpool progressed, Champions League semi-final. Can't wait to talk about that one.
Thank you very much, future Neil, present Neil, past Neil, whatever we're going with at the minute. Salah's goal's brilliant. It's 3-3. It's another very, very well worked one. It's a really good finish. What struck me most about it was that I thought that Trent Alexander-Arnold had quite a poor game by and large. I had a look at his passing accuracy. It was 48%.
Yep.
He gave it away more than he kept it, which is mad. But it's brilliant to have someone like him, and Robertson's the same as well, who can still, even if they're not necessarily playing very well, and we saw it with Trent at Southampton, can still just pull something out with the right foot, with the left foot, whatever, that can help you win a game of footy.
Yeah, it is back to the idea that he is like an attacking midfielder but a right back, and that's, you know, I mean, it's overstated there in those passing stats. That also does tell you the story of how much they were trying to make sure Liverpool's fullbacks couldn't play, by the way, and how hard they were working on that. But when he's given the opportunity to, he is able to play a ball that a number 10 would be made up about, you know, and that's what he does. The pace of it's tremendous because the defender's actually a little bit unfortunate. He knows it was a real sort of, I know what's about to happen here. I very much like it not to. Oh no!
I wish I was a little bit taller.
Yeah, I wish I was a little bit taller. It was all that coming together, and I did feel a little sorry for him. And the thing about it was, I mean, it's a finish of some confidence. It is a finish of some confidence, near post, against Casillas. Casillas does pretty much what Alisson does to Hazard, and says, you can go this, I'll let you go, I'll let you put it there, and if you put it there, it's past me, then I'm in trouble. And Salah, unlike Hazard, says, Salah, mate, yeah, all the best, and does it. And it's almost like, I love the little photograph, I don't know if you've seen it, of Van Dijk celebrating it as he sees that he's in, because he just knows this fella at the minute. Yeah, there we are, this one's in. There it is, and it was the business.
Mo, I can't be asked talking about the Porto goal, quite frankly, because the Liverpool ones are better and more interesting, and also sometimes you just concede a goal and you haven't got to do all the analysis and whatever. It was a good header, we'll leave it there.
All I'll say is it was something nice for the crowd who'd earned that moment that they get to cheer.
And he played a song that I'm sure our ends will have been extremely happy with as well.
Yeah, they had a scout at that.
Yeah. They haven't done the homework on that one, Porto. But the third goal, I want to talk about Firmino, it's sort of in general as well as getting the goal, because the Salah goal comes from him winning the ball back in a left-back area. It was nice for Origi to get some minutes. I think we're still not quite sure whether he went off with a knock or if it was just a tactical thing. Firmino has had half a rest, but he's just one of the most intelligent footballers that I've certainly ever seen play for Liverpool. The amount of goals he scores where the two centre-backs are completely split and he's in about 5 yards of space. It's not an accident. It's not that those defenders are bad players. It's just the fact that he's so clever and his movement's so brilliant.
He knows when to make the moves as well. He's just waited to the point where they've maybe looked behind them to check where someone else is, and he's just drifted a few yards. And then he does the point for Henderson, and then Henderson does exactly what he was planning to do and just puts it on his head perfectly. But you're right, going back to the whole Firmino-Origi thing, it's a little bit unfair sometimes to hold Origi to the standards of what Firmino does, because number 9s aren't supposed to be making tackles in the left-back position in the same way that right-backs arguably aren't meant to be putting through balls like a number 10. But that's what we've got, and every time that Origi plays instead of him, that's the standard he's got to be held up to. I think it was a bit ruthless from Klopp, because he bigs Origi up before the game, says that he's just earned this and he has no option but to play him, he's training so well. But he didn't do what he asked him of. Clearly in the first half, you could see he was shouting at him from the sideline, and that's it. It's like, not, oh, the tie's won, we'll give you a chance to kind of play yourself into form, the rest for Firmino is more important. No, you're not doing what I ask, out. And Firmino came in and did exactly what the manager asked, and that's exactly why he's so good.
Do you think that in part, Neil, might be because we've seen Origi do a lot of the graft when he's come on or come in and started games recently, and he's really good at putting himself about, winning corners, whatever. He's been crucial in a few goals that Liverpool have scored because he's won the set piece or he's been a part of the build-up like in Munich. But he still is a very, very small goal threat in and of himself, a lot less than Firmino. Do you think that's part of why he's ended up taking him off, or...?
I think there's a little bit, I think that's to an extent, but I think there's something a little bit tactical there in that he just wants to match him up. And I think that he wasn't happy with what he could see. And, you know, but going back to the idea of them trying to make the pitch big, well, Milner basically goes and plays left mid. Fabinho goes and gets Wijnaldum sat next to him, and Mane goes and has a period of time right mid. And it's almost as though Klopp's got them in at half time and just thought to himself, when most talk about ruthlessness, and I agree, how do I stabilise this? How do I ensure as little as possible happens for the next 15? Because I don't want to give them any hope. And that's what happens. And I think that Origi's a little bit of a victim of that, a little bit of a victim of his own poor first half performance, where he couldn't quite get into it. I think it's noticeable we stabilise actually when he goes centre forward, and Mane goes left and Salah goes right, and we just get that sorted out and go almost a little 4-5-1. I think that's why we stabilise a little bit at that point in the game. They all have a little turn up front, but I think that calms us down. And the reason why I think that calms us down is because I don't think Origi was doing the work he wanted him to do from the left-hand side. And then if it suddenly becomes, well, who's going to do better playing behind Salah, he just makes the decision to do Firmino. And I think all in, it'll allow the manager to draw a few lessons. He'll probably have a nice chat today with Origi. But as far as I'm concerned, Liverpool just went 4-4-1-1, and he doesn't fancy Origi as 1-1. And so that's the end of the matter.
Neil, Jordan Henderson has himself a big rest, firstly, which is nice, but he also gets off the bench, plays really well again, puts in a millimetre perfect cross for Roberto Firmino just to nod into the net. And the thing that strikes me most about him at the minute is it just looks like he loves playing footy, because, you know, a lot of the other games that you see him play where he has played the deeper role this season, he's still playing really well, but he's a very aggressive footballer and an aggressive man on the football pitch at times, isn't he? But I think he's been doing sort of a lot less of that recently, and he just looks like he's having a fantastic time, and there's a bit of pressure off his shoulders. He just looks like he's the happiest in his Liverpool career, and that's brilliant at this stage of this season.
It is. I think he's loving the opportunity of winning, you know, being put in a position where he feels as though he can win silverware for Liverpool. I think it's an interesting mindset. You know, he plays number 6 at Napoli, as an example, and it's so arduous all game for him. He's not helped by what goes on around him and injuries, but it was an interesting comparison that Napoli game that day. You know, it all just looked really, really difficult, really, really tough, and just like graft. Whereas now it just looks like, yeah, this is great, isn't it? You know, and the ball's tremendous, but he comes on and creates 4 chances. He's nutmegging people. You're like, you know, this has been what he's not been able to do. And listen, you know, there's every chance that this run of Henderson form dissipates. There's every chance that he finishes this season remarkably strongly. We get into the next season and we try to use it again, and it never quite clicks in the same way in which it's clicking right now. Because I think a lot of this right now is about, I have the opportunity to captain Liverpool to a League and European Cup double. I have this opportunity, and I am being given the opportunity to win it. Not the idea to protect it, to win it. And it might be, as I say, this could dissipate. It might not do, and I think he's a really, really good player. But right now, in terms of managing people, Klopp's got him exactly where he wants to have him, because he's going to force the issue at every opportunity if it needs force.
Yeah. I think another thing about him as well is that he's someone who's bet on himself and won. He basically went to the manager and said, I can do this. Let me prove to you what I can give you in this role. And he knows that he's doing it. And every time he does it, it makes him feel a little bit better. He probably hugs Fabinho every time they come off the pitch as well, because it's only Fabinho's development into the role that has allowed Henderson the kind of nerve to say, go to Klopp and say, look, well, he's kind of good at this now. Maybe I can go back and do that bit.
This is a great point. When Fabinho twisted his knee, he was down with a twisted knee, and I thought, oh no, it means we're going to have to drop Henderson back. I didn't think, oh no, it means we're not going to have Fabinho, and I think Fabinho is great, by the way. But I actually thought, oh no, this means that for the run-in, if he's properly injured here, it means that Henderson's going to have to drop back in. And I don't think we want that right now. I'm looking forward to, you know, this isn't a preview show for Cardiff, but I'm looking forward to Liverpool going to Cardiff and bringing Henderson and Keita back into that midfield. I think we'll be better for it. And I think that that's got lovely balance at the minute in all areas of the pitch. And listen, it might go badly wrong, but currently they're the two who, for me, are in possession of the shirt. I think that Wijnaldum and Milner have an awkward night, and I think they get through it. But I think there's a difference between getting through it and being what Liverpool needs you to be. I think Robertson has a difficult night. Milner helps with that as well. Across the board, that's not to say that Wijnaldum and Milner aren't going to have a massive role to play, but it might be that this run-in is defined by Henderson and Keita in the same way that arguably the period from August until February was defined by Wijnaldum and Milner.
Right, we've gone long on Jordan Henderson, so we haven't really got time to talk about Virgil van Dijk, but I will just quickly say that it is very nice to actually watch him score on a regular basis, because the song felt like a lie for a long time when he didn't score. But Mo, very quickly, just before we go, Joe Gomez comes on and gets his minutes. It's a right back, which I think people wouldn't expect, but you don't want to be really taking Joel Matip off in a Champions League second leg, I don't think. What role does he have to play between now and the end? Does he come in for Cardiff? Is this just about getting a minute with a view to if there's an injury? What's going on with him?
I think that he's going to have a part to play against Barcelona. I think we're going to have to see some minutes in him. But then I think the idea of having him who's another front foot defender, more natural front foot defender, I think, than Joel Matip. Having him in the mix for that game when we're going up against Lionel Messi is going to be really important. So I would expect to see him play some minutes against Cardiff. I don't know whether or not it'll be from the start, but it was great to see him. And of course, his tackle was what led to the third goal as well. So he's contributing straight from the off. Excellent.
That is about all that we've got time for this episode of The Second Look. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Neil and to Mo for joining me. Neil said it before, everything you watch now that Liverpool play is the biggest game of your life. The footballers' lives, all of our lives, yours as well. It's going to be brilliant. If you don't already, go to theanfieldwrap.com/subscribe. There's going to be loads of podcasts, all looking forward to the Cardiff game, looking forward to the Barcelona tie as well, and all the games between now and the end of the season. It's the best place to be, best time to get on board if you don't, and share it with us. But yes, thank you for watching. Enjoy your week. Spend it thinking about the league and the European Cup double. All the best.
This is the Anfield Wrap from the heart of Liverpool, and we've got exciting news. We're launching our app very, very soon. The app will be the best place to get all your Anfield Wrap content from. It looks the absolute business as far as we're concerned, but it will mean a few changes.
Yeah, we're changing the pricing structure at the moment. So the full audio package is moving to £7. The full video package is moving to £7, and you can get all of those. So everything we do for a tenner. We are keeping a reduced £5 package for those who currently subscribe. So that'll be about one show a day. But if you want everything you currently get on TalkPlay at the moment, for audio, as I say, it's £7, and then for all the audio and all the video, we'll be moving to £10.
Indeed. So the video that you're likely to have just watched, I mean, we're doing a number of these little recording things, so, you know, I can't be quite sure where it's going to appear, this one. But the video you're likely to have just watched, so post-match pint, the second look and preview, will all be ending up going behind the paywall at the app. It's going to be around mid-April we're going to do that. When we started these back last August, we were hopeful we'd have the app sorted by around mid-October. End of October. As it is, it's taken this long, but we've chosen to keep those videos and those formats going right the way through the season. What exactly is the point of telling the story of a season, stopping and then restarting again? So that's what we've looked to do. But all those videos will be part of the full video option. We hope you like them. We hope you enjoy them. We think they're worth paying for. We're really proud of them. We think it's the best video content out there you can get about Liverpool.
Yeah, definitely. And there's plenty more exciting shows to come as well. So there'll be new ones that we're launching as part of this as well. Really good new shows. You might have seen the stats show that Neil started doing as well.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be kind of much more of that, more new stuff as well. And we just want to be more ambitious with what we do in the future. We want to keep pushing the boundaries of what people think fan media is capable of, because that's what we think we've done since 2011. And with your help, we can do that. So we hope you come with us on the next stage of the journey. We're really excited about it.
And the app is itself fantastic. So do download it, even if you're not sure. Have a little look, see what you can play with on there. The Talking Reds will still be available for free. The free audio, the Monday and Friday show we do, will be available for free. All the writing will be on the app as well. We want you to download the app. We're excited about it. It's the best place to get your Anfield Wrap content. We think the Anfield Wrap content is the best content you can get about Liverpool. So why not? Let's all double down, all enjoy ourselves. Come on board with us at the Anfield Wrap.